Yes, great, thanks. I'm writing a play about elitism in the arts based on interviews, and I'd like to make an appointment to interview the congressman, if he's willing. Yeah, it can be brief, 10 or 15 minutes or so. No, it's not about the NEA, it's just about the art. Yeah, okay. My number is 206-459-3716. Thanks.
So, if elitism is based on the audience in the house, right, the income level, race, education, then yes, the nonprofits in the US are elitist. They exist for educated, wealthy white people. That's a no-brainer, right?
How do you say? It's like the ability to hold two contradictory ideas is a form of intelligence or being civilized.
Progressive and left-leaning at the same time? You're going to talk out of both sides of my mouth at the same time? I'm a Jew and a politician. I can do that, you know. Progressive, yeah, I don't know. Elitist is something to look at there. But progressive, it's the people that are political. You know, the arts, they're neutral. Or better yet, they're silent.
What I was trying to say is, well, that the arts are conservative and that they carry culture from generation to generation. Sure, they can change people's minds, but they are an important part in keeping things the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like they reinforce and preserve the status quo. Like that professor saved Liza Doolittle from the gutter and made a lady out of her. Rich men have all the power.
Wait a minute. At the same time, the arts have a powerful ability to create community, right? I mean, and that's a condition for change. So they're actually progressive, yes?
So, is elitism really a problem in the arts?
Yes.
No! Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, everybody's okay with this idea that there's elite scientists, right? And elite fighting forces, like the Navy SEALs, right? They're all cool, right? So why not for the arts? You know, Yo-Yo Ma is cool, right? It's the same difference. Duh.
Let's do the question. I do not find the arts to be intrinsically elite or left-leaning for that matter. Nor is there a contradiction between the two ideas. You have to get rid of the value judgment. Elite can mean many things. For artists, it can mean virtuosity, huh? A talent, a gift, if you will, mixed with years of training. And there are some disciplines where genetics can play a role. Not all of us are born equipped to sing Verdi or the blues.
And the arts progressive or left-leaning? There's no easy answer. I mean, okay, some works are clearly ideological, right? Oleana is an ideological work, right? As is Angels in America, okay? Radio Wolf is about gentrification and class mobility, you know what I'm saying? But would you say that Much Ado About Nothing is about heteronormative marriage? I mean, look at the way that the bias toward the status quo, which is built into the plot, right? All the straight couples get separated out and all get married at the end, right? You know what I'm saying? But is it clearly an ideological conservative work? You know what I'm saying?
I reject the premise. Elite, populist, left, right. It's a false dichotomy, and it's a dangerous one. I run a corporate funding program, and we do not fund the arts. Our company's focus is social sustainability, right? Workforce development, strengthening our community, so on. All our funding is done at a local level, right? So all the funding decisions are made in those communities. Now here's what's interesting. It is often the arts and cultural groups that are the important players in those communities. So that's what we fund. They are the fabric of our community. Arts tell us who we are as a people. And can you call that elite?
Thank you for calling Congressman Smith's office. There's no one available to take your call at the moment. To leave a general message for the Congressman's staff, please press 1. For press and media aid, press 2. For scheduling and appointments, press 3. For White House tours and flag requests, press 4, or please visit our website at www.
I grew up in a small rural town in the South. Poor family, a single mom. I was not educated in the classical arts. Okay, we made our own music. You know, we didn't go to the opera or the symphony. That was for a different class than us. You had to know how to act, how to dress. Anyway, fast forward to college, okay? I was the first person in my family to go to college. And I'm standing there talking to a bunch of girls, and they're all excited because Yehudi Menuhin is coming to our campus. I had no idea who Yehudi Menuhin was, you know? Was he some famous yoga guy? So I'm laughing and talking, trying to make sure they know that I'm not totally clueless. And so finally I asked them where he's going to be, thinking that would be some kind of clue, okay? The basketball gym. Okay, so that was no help.
You know, I go to the opera as part of my job, and I like it. But let me tell you what happens over and over again. Okay, first of all, I'm usually the only young black guy in the audience, and it's the happy hair, I guess. And I kind of stand out. But here's what happens over and over. Usually, it'll be some elderly white lady. She'll approach me and say, "Are you enjoying yourself? Is this your first time at the opera?" I'm sure it's very well intentioned, but all the same, it's very off-putting. Like I've transgressed some line, I'm being interrogated. Just the fact that they want me to feel welcome lets me know they don't feel I belong there. Okay, I never feel as black as when I'm at the opera.
So here's one for you. Here's one for you. So I'm working in a community arts project in one of the city's more challenged neighborhoods. And one of the artists actually says to a resident, "Oh yeah, I'm poor, but not like you."
I grew up in a bicultural household, but both parents spoke Chinese at home. And the difference is, we never talk about art. It was just part of our everyday lives. It only becomes elitist when you segregate it off or put it on a pedestal or something.
A lot of this has to do with being not like us. You know, when we feel that somebody is not like us, we distrust them. You know, and a lot of artists dance to a different beat. You know, they separate themselves out, so it's really easy for us to see them as not like us, right? Well, this is obvious in the way that Obama is treated. You know, I mean, we say we're not racist, but then we see him as not like us, right?
Elitism? You bet. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. I just came from a conference in California, and there were all artists in the room, but there was this split. Okay, all the artists of color wanted to talk about what a factor race played in their work, and all the artists of let's just put it on the table. The white artists only wanted to talk about the excellence of the work, but what they're totally not getting is it's a privilege not to have to think about race first. Like, it's totally not on their radar. And the artists of color, we can't dodge it. It's not like a choice. It's not like I say, okay, I think I'll only write about racial stuff. Whatever I write about, it's just there.
Thank you for calling Congressman Smith's office. There's no one available to take your call at the moment. To leave a general message for...
Let's take sports. Sports, competitive sports at the highest level, of course, are elitist. Not everybody is the Yankees or Michael Jordan, and Americans love to watch those people compete. It's part of your cultural identity. And there's no inherent tension between the pros and the amateurs. Everybody loves the Yankees, or not. And everybody loves it when they bring out the little league kids out onto the field at the halftime. Now, ask you, would we ever see that at the intermission at the symphony?
No. And we only have ourselves to blame. It's like we circle up and we say, here we are, the artist people, and we're kind of special or something. This amounts to a keep out sign posted at the door.
Well, I didn't have books in my household when I was a kid. We didn't go to plays. I think I got my first book when I was 14. You know, and then overnight, I'm in a physical therapy program at college. And then overnight, I'm going to a theater program, you know. And I kind of had this chip on my shoulder about being a cowgirl. My family were ranchers, and I knew everything there was to know about alfalfa and cows. But when it came to theater, I was really worried about being seen as a fraud. So then I heard about another guy from New Mexico that graduated from Juilliard, and so I wanted to talk to him. You know, so I gave him a call. And he was such a snob. He was like, do you know who Sam Shepard is? Do you know who this guy is? Don't even think about going to New York until you know who these people are, you know? And I realized that he was the one with the chip on his shoulder about being Chicano in the white world. And he wanted to make me pay my dues, you know, like I couldn't just win that one overnight.
Take architecture, for example. Those museums and concert halls all have these massive steps and columns that say, you don't belong here, to a whole bunch of people.
For a while, I was working in a rural, community-based theater company, and we were making plays about the people in the area. It was a transitional time for me. My mom had just died, and I was sorting a lot of stuff out. And working with that community organization was a really big part of moving through that time for me. She would have wondered what the hell I was doing, but anyway. So the shows were great. I mean, a lot of country music, a lot of singing and storytelling, and then we had the chance to take a show to New York, to Harlem, and I was really excited. You know, I'd never been to Harlem, but the people were really nice, and anyway, so we opened the show, and I was just blown away by the audience. They wandered in late, they talked to each other, they talked to people on the stage, you know, they just were really rude. They were not acting the way you were supposed to act in a theater. I was really upset. I had to go outside for a timeout, you know. But I came to the understanding later that this is how black people engaged with theater in Harlem. You know, they were digging the show. This is how they were showing it. Harlem was a long way from my home, and a long way from what I was told were good manners. I had to acknowledge that people behave differently in different places, and I had to come to terms with my own elitist attitudes and expectations.
Call me elitist if you like. Art is one of the towering achievements of our humanity. It gives us direct insight into the human condition. It transcends and crosses generations. Hamlet still moves us because there's something in it that touches a nerve. I don't have time, the patience for all this crap. That art is important because listening to Mozart helps babies' fine motor skills develop. Or art is important because it has a positive impact to the economy of the inner cities. It's all well and fine, I suppose. But it is not why Mozart wrote with the passion that he did, and not why I listened to those works.
Thank you for calling Congressman Smith's office. There is no one available to take your call at the moment. All voicemail boxes are currently full. Please call back at another time.
So this whole idea of elitism, it's embedded in our history. The idea of supporting the arts or making art councils, that has its roots in the early 20th century, right? The art councils were first developed as part of the settlement house movement. And the settlement house movement was started by the Junior League at Vassar College. Young women just trying to do some good and help new immigrants find their way. It's good, right? But say those words now. Junior League, Vassar. Just tell me, what images of class come up to mind?
I find it interesting that many of the classical art forms have become stratified and class-conscious in the Americas. Maybe it's an expression of some sort of inferiority complex. You see, the Americas, lacking an old-school aristocracy, had to make up one of their own based on money. And in the arts, dressing up and attending performance became part of the trappings of establishing a new social position. The art itself was not the driver. Part of the problem is the culture of institutions. We've allowed the language and discourse around the arts to become academic and self-referential, which is exclusionary. It's like saying, if you don't understand this work or you don't like this work, then that's your problem.
Hello? Oh, yes, great. Thank you. We're the ones we spoke last week. Yes, I'm trying to make an appointment with the congressman about getting his views on the arts. Yes, I'm writing a play about elitism in the arts. Okay, I'll try again tomorrow. I have left several messages.
If elitism is working against us in the arts, whether it's in politics or fundraising, that's our own faults. We haven't taken the time out to address the issue or face the facts. In public arenas, we seem to trade caricatures. The aughts are fops in smoking jackets, and the ones who don't like them are ignorant rednecks in baseball caps.
It's easy to resort to stereotypes, though. It's the stuffy conservatives in suits, the symphony, and the loose moral liberals at the hipster Soho galleries, but it's not that simple. There are a lot of loose moral opera fans out there, too. Have you read those opera plots?
I live in the Midwest. We got this dynamite choreographer out here, and her work has been seen all over the world. But there's a funder who actually told her, you can't be serious about dance living out there. You should come to New York. Like, that's the boundaries of the real world. That's a bunch of crap.
I'm thinking it's the other way around. Those dance people in New York are so wrapped up in their own little worlds that they're isolated from the rest of us. And it shows in the work. It's all inward thinking, out of touch with the rest of us, kind of like jacking off.
No. Art challenges conventional wisdom. It upsets the status quo. It upsets people's belief systems, and it rocks the boat. So dismissing it as elite and therefore irrelevant is an easy defense mechanism, which is a nice way of saying it's a cop-out.
All the arts left-leaning. Okay. Sing me a conservative protest song. Go ahead. Okay, come on. Sing me one of those conservative, right-winged protest songs of the 50s. Okay. Thought so. Let's try this. I'll sing the first line and you sing the second line if you know it. Where have all the flowers gone?
Long time passing.
Yeah. Okay, let's try this one. If I had a hammer,
I am born.
Yeah.
For a lot of us living in New York City, the arts, they were really the glue that held us together after 9/11. You got the musicians playing on the street corners, the rescue workers. That's not about class.
Former Governor Sarah Palin.
NPR, National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, all those kinds of frivolous organizations that the government should not be in the business of funding with tax dollars. Those are the kinds of things that should be on the chopping block as we talk about this $14 trillion debt that we'll be handing to our kids and our grandkids. Yes, those are the kinds of things which, for more than one reason, need to be cut. The reality is we have 15 million Americans who are out of work.
Robert Lynch of Americas for the Arts.
Nationally, the arts and cultural industry supports 5.7 million jobs and generates $166.2 billion in annual economic activity. The NEA is a linchpin in this sizable economy.
President John F. Kennedy.
I look forward to an America which will reward achievements in the arts just as we reward achievements in business and statecraft. I look forward to an America which steadily rises the standards of artistic accomplishments and enlarges cultural opportunities for all citizens. I look forward to an America which is revered all around the world, not just for our strength, but for our civilization as well. And I look forward to an America which is not afraid of grace and beauty.
Michael Kuhlman, The New York Times.
Of course, art is elitist. The beauty of a museum is that everybody that walks through the door becomes an elitist too. Museums don't make people better citizens. Hermann Göring was a connoisseur. Museums show us what beauty looks like, or what tastemakers at a certain moment in time thought was beautiful. This encounter may or may not make people think in a larger, more humane way about civilization.
Andy Warhol.
What I love about this country is that America started the tradition that the richest consumers buy essentially the same thing as the poorest consumers. You can watch TV and see Coca-Cola and think, the president drinks Coke, Liz Taylor drinks Coke, and gee, you can drink Coke too. A Coke is a Coke, and no amount of money is going to get you a better Coke than the one the bum on the corner is drinking. All Cokes are the same, and all Cokes are good. Liz Taylor knows it, the president knows it, and you know it.
Okay, Our larger institutions have simply betrayed the intent of their nonprofit status. Okay? They are not serving the public good. They are only serving to keep themselves in business, and they suck up all the money because they have bullied everybody into believing that they are essential or legacy organizations that we can't live without. And that is elitism rotten to the core. And if that makes me a different kind of elitist, deal with it.
The arts? Elite? No, mon ami. The arts are, how do you say, pond scum. And I am the queen bee of the arts, darling. They revolve around me. There's really no more to say on this subject.
You know what else pisses me off? Broadway producers using regional nonprofit theaters as tax shelters. You know what I'm saying? Theaters that are supposed to be trailblazers get turned into enhancement houses for Broadway because it comes with big money. You know, the Broadway producers come in and they develop a show in a nice tax-free, non-profit theater, sucking it away from its mission, and then they take the show to Broadway. You know what I'm saying? This is bullshit.
No, what you're asking about is elitism, and are the arts left or right wing? Okay, so then let's talk about this whole green movement thing, which is about as elitist and left wing as it gets. I do not have time to worry about saving animals when brothers on my block are getting shot. Now, if you live on a block where brothers aren't getting on the shot, then maybe you got time to worry about saving the animals. But you got to know that's a privilege to get to do that.
People like me get a little emotional and choked up when we talk about the arts. You know, we lose our reasoning skills.
Here's an idea, funders. Instead of pouring money into institutions to do outreach, bring in people of color and people from what you call marginalized communities to big institutions. Then ask these communities what kind of art they are making and just fund that.
You want to know what makes me go ballistic? Michael Kaiser thinking he has all the answers for the little guy. You talk about elitist.
Why on earth would I want to talk to you about that?
We have a funder here. I won't name names. They raise a lot of money from corporations and make these art grants. But in reality, they're like this big bloated ship floating along, flags flying, tooting their own horns. And the reality is they are stuck in the sand, years behind what is really going on in the arts world. Call that elitist? I suppose. But it's more like, sadly, stuck in the past.
The arts? Bunch of crap. I don't care.
I suppose it's like totally naive of me to think that people who control money are smart.
In theater, there's definitely a class system. The class system, directors, actors, stage managers, designers, technicians, house staff. You may be queen of your little shit hill, baby, but it's still a shit hill.
So all the Marx Brothers faults. Ever since that movie, Night Out at the Opera, where Groucho takes on the high society dame, that scene established the classic battle between the everyman American schmuck versus the high society dame, and we've been stuck with it ever since.
Yes, hello, thank you. Yes, we spoke last week. I've been trying to get an appointment with the congressman about his views on the arts. I'm the one who's writing a play about Hello? Hello?
Well, thank you. Let me introduce members of our cast here. On this end, Sean San Jose, who works with Intersection Arts and Teatro Campo here in San Francisco. Britney Frazier, also from San Francisco and also with Teatro Campo. Elise Hunt from Seattle. Elise and I have worked together for several years at the Washington Ensemble Theater. Their script a little more than a week ago, and we rehearsed this all in about the last 4 days. So wow.
Let me introduce our playwright.
I was just going to say, just very briefly, that Barbara Marete called me with this project in, I think probably July, and I thought, good grief, am I going to take on writing this between now and the conference? I've got a conference to put on. But it was an opportunity I was not about to let pass by. And this piece is ultimately is a work of fiction, but it's all based on actual interviews that I did mostly by telephone, a handful live in Washington and a few here in San Francisco as well. And I think I talked to about 45 different people who have various jobs in and outside of the arts. I never did get anyone of the Tea Party Congress, freshman Congress class to return a call about this, nor could I get Sarah Palin's office to ever return a call about this. So that was pretty much the story. Some of you are in the room whose voices are buried in this script. So